everybody, it's Mrs. Gravey
and Mr. Gravey
from
Team Gravey, making things easy.
And today we decided to do a how we met video. We've been waiting to do this video and now we're finally doing it. So, Mr. Gravey, do you want to start us off? How did we meet?
Well, we met in Jamaica.
Stop it. So a little background. We have already been married for 4 years. We got married January of 2010.
2010?
No, 2000. I can't count.
Wait
16?
a minute. 2016, baby.
2016. I don't know why I said 2010. Honestly, I don't know why I said 2010. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay.
21 was year 5, baby. Come on, baby.
2016. So we've been married for 4 years.
4.5 years, actually. But yeah.
4.5. But do you want to tell them which website we met on?
Yeah, we met on Black People Meet. Yeah.
So at the time, Black People Meet was like, in my opinion, like a booty call website.
Oh.
And I didn't really know that until I actually got on it. Yes, it was. I mean, when you saw the ads on TV, the people were kind of shady. But, you know, I thought, hey, I'll give it a try. And once I got on there, you know, people would text me like, I don't think you need to be on here. I'm like, why would they say that?
Really?
But yeah.
I didn't tell nobody, so.
So I really wasn't advertising that we met on that website. I would just tell people, oh, we met online.
Yeah.
And that was really popular when eHarmony was out. So eHarmony was like the big dating website at that time.
You were on eHarmony too, though, you said, I think.
For a very short period.
Really?
Really short.
Yeah. So I guess we met online. So what was your first impression? Do you remember when you met me? Do I remember? I definitely remember when I met you. Sure.
Well, when I first saw my husband's picture, I was like, wow, he's really handsome. I bet he's really short. Because the majority of the guys, you know, I'm 5'8", so I naturally wanted somebody who was a little bit taller than me. And all my life, I kind of dated guys that were shorter. So I'm like, you know what? This time around, I really want somebody taller. So he didn't have a picture of him like full length. It was just your face shot.
Which I used to get so many complaints about too. People used to always say, they're like, are you real short? Like, can we see a full body picture?
Because on his profile, it said like he was 6'1".
Yeah.
And I'm like, he's not 6'1".
You thought I was lying?
I thought you were. I really thought he was. Oh, but wow. I was initially very attracted to him. So I'm like, okay. You know, and at the time, on those profiles, you can click on it and it shows you who has viewed your page. So I'm like, you know, I'm not reaching out. I'm just going to wait for him to respond to me because he can see that I clicked on it. Right.
Which I surely did. I think it's funny, though, because when I met you, I do remember, like, you with those big old goggles on and you were, like, cutting up some crafts or something like that. And you were like, my whole life revolves around Jesus. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, she's probably so nice. She's probably wife material, but I'm just not gonna have any fun with her. Like, nice. You know, but I was so attracted to you, you know what I mean? Nice. And it's funny, but I, at the time too, I wasn't in a certain space where I was like open to you. Like you were the girl who I knew was gonna be good for me, but I didn't feel like I was the guy who was gonna be good enough for you yet. You know what I mean? So that was my first impression, I remember.
Interesting husband.
Yeah, you didn't know that, huh? Finding out about each other out there, huh?
I know, right?
That's what happened when you meet online.
But then what happened? You emailed me, and I think we just started talking that way. We didn't give out our numbers or anything. And I felt like for online dating, for me, it was a safe environment because I got to choose who I would talk to, who I wouldn't. I mean, I didn't have to give anybody my telephone number. Nobody knew where I lived. So it was a really safe environment. So I had never given out my telephone number. But then we started talking and I don't know, we started talking about entrepreneurship. And I'm like, oh, he's an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, so we connected right away with that.
Right.
And
yeah, no, I definitely remember that was our vibe, was entrepreneurship.
It was.
But what Vicky is not telling you is that Vicky was talking to somebody else at the time.
And he was so funny.
I do. Those were the first two things I remember, though, too. I remember us being in this kind of gray area where there was definitely an attraction there, definitely interested, but just uncertain. You know, it almost felt like it was too good to be true at first. You know, it did because because you have, and everyone knows this about you, have a very innocent, welcoming look about you. And when I talked to you on the phone, the voice matched what my stereotype of you was. And then, you know, well, I'll let you say.
Well, you know, he got my number because this is what happened. I was telling him how, you know, I've been to Chicago, that I went to business school at Bill Winston's church. He had a business school, and I was a part of that for 9 months. And he was like, oh yeah, I know Bill Winston, I've been to his church or something like that. And that's when I gave him my number, because we just had this connection. I'm like, oh yeah, we're entrepreneurs. You've been to the same church I went to. Yeah. And that's how you got my number.
I didn't know that though.
Yep, that's how it happened.
Like,
yep.
I mean, now granted, this was 5-6 years ago we're talking about. I feel like I thought I asked you for it like very quick.
No.
Like I don't remember, how long did we talk for a while?
We chatted for a while, yeah.
Okay.
And then when you mentioned Bill Winston, even though you've been there like one time.
Yeah, well, my friend, that was her church home. That was who you know today. My friend I met there, that was her church home.
Yeah, because I thought he was like a member there and he was going there. So I'm like, okay, yes, you can get my number.
Yeah.
So then after that, then we started FaceTime, which was a really new thing. And I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? I don't even know him. And he's FaceTiming me. Our first time we're going to talk is on a FaceTime. Do you remember that? Yep. We didn't do regular phone call. He FaceTimed me.
Interesting.
And my brother thought it was so weird. He's like,
I
do
do
even
remember that.
know each other and you just FaceTiming like this? Like almost every day we started FaceTime.
I do remember that because your brother's joke was you guys would FaceTime and never even talk. Like, it was like all you guys do is just look at each other. I felt like when we first started talking on FaceTime, it was after we had talked on the phone.
No.
Like a couple of times. But we only talked, like, I thought we talked a couple of times before. But you mean the very first time? I don't remember. That's interesting though.
Because I remember the first time we was going to FaceTime, I washed my hair. My hair was really curly. I had this green sweater. That's my date sweater. I had my green sweater on, my green blue sweater.
Okay, you're right. I do remember now.
I feel like we were talking on and off for a while. I kind of felt like he was just going through the motion of talking to me. Like there wasn't, we got to a point where it wasn't like a real connection. It was kind of like, okay, what do you like? What type of music do you like? Like, where's this going? That's how it kind of felt at a certain point. And that's how I was still talking to the other guy when I was
but
talking
I could get that
too.
though. No. But that you know, that's a fair point, because looking back, I knew what I wanted, but I knew what I wanted and what I needed, you know. But I just had this thing of like, you were wife material and I just wasn't husband yet. You know, so I was still kind of playing it safe, you know, and things like that. So I couldn't be fully invested in my emotions with you. And no, let's be honest though. The fact that, and this to this day, I'm so glad you did not just like stop talking to me automatically. But the biggest kicker was you had a son.
Yes, little Gravey was 1 at the time when we met.
Yeah, and that was very difficult for me though. Like, it was difficult because I remember asking my mentor, you know, what should I do? And, you know, and I remember my mentor telling me, like, if you really love her, then it really shouldn't matter. You know, but I was at the stage of like, do I or don't I? Or, you know what I mean? So that was tough, but man, you hung in there. But I was able to be honest with my feelings with you though. You know, and I think that was something that made me even want to pursue things even more, because I didn't feel like I had to put on with you.
But honestly, I didn't even get that connection from you that it was an issue with me having a child for a while. Like, we didn't really bring it up because you were just so genuine about every time we were FaceTime, you know, my husband was asking, oh, let me see him. How's he doing? Let me talk to him. And, you know, so we had that connection. But you did tell me at one point, like, you wasn't sure about someone dating someone with a kid. And I was like, you know what? Forget this guy.
Right. And I think when I said that, I was trying to deal with my feelings though, because my feelings were growing, we were talking more and things like that. We had a lot of things in common. And I naturally, genuinely have always loved kids though. You know, so anyone that gets a chance to meet my oldest one now, you can fall in love with him very easily, you know. And so when I saw him as a baby and wondering like, you know, I'm gonna have to be his dad one day. I mean, I'm asking myself these questions and I'm like, okay, like this is like I better be honest with her because I didn't feel like I was gonna be able to live up to that though. You know, I didn't know the situation, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I had a lot going on in my own individual life, you know, personal life, and it was scary. You know, I was thinking, kind of getting ahead of myself, like thinking about all these responsibilities I have. But every time we would end our conversation, he always had to say bye.
It's very true.
And he would always yell my name and stuff like that, you know, and then he would get mad if I didn't say bye, but then he wouldn't come back to the phone. You know, so I think that kind of, for me, I started kind of, I don't know, that was like the early seeds of our family being sold, like before we even knew it, maybe. You know?
Yeah.
You know.
And keep in mind, this was all before we even met in person. So like almost every day we were just FaceTiming, talking about each other, getting to know each other in that way. And that's like a whole nother avenue of even dating, you know, because I was waiting for like the butterflies. Like I just want to be so overwhelmed. I want to have all these lovey-dovey feelings. Yeah, and I just didn't have it. But with the other guy I was talking to, he was so fun. I had all these like flirtations with him, and then but I just connected. I just connected with my husband. We just had a bond, even though the flutteries wasn't there. Like you can't get so hung up on those feelings because they do come. But initially,
I'm gonna go back to what you said before.
Initially, they wasn't there. It wasn't there.
But I really appreciate you being so honest and open about that because I thought that's how it was gonna happen to me. Like, I think to some degree I had like a bit of a guilt trip because I thought that when you met the person that you were going to spend the rest of your life with, that you were going to fall in love, you're going to have all these butterflies, and I mean just romance. I mean, you're looking forward to talking to this person all the time, can't get off the phone. And between Vicky and I, we had none of that though. I honestly, and this may sound crazy, I don't know that we had one deep phone call. You know, like, no. But I'm saying, I'm talking about to anybody who has done online dating, it is some type of like, I don't know, some romanticizing that goes on with it. But when you have never met that person and you've created who they are, this image in your head of who this person is, and you talk to them on the phone and they can make themselves be out to whoever they want to be, like you kind of get wrapped into that stuff.
True.
You know, like I had people that I talked to before you and we're on the phone all night, this and that. You and I, like our phone conversations, like were boring. Like,
he's so lame.
No, but think about it though.
Not all of them.
I'm just saying like that wasn't, that it was something bigger than that drew us together because I've had those connections before and they clearly didn't last. You know what I mean? It was a false positive. You know, you think that it's, oh wow, we have all this stuff to build on. But with us, it was something, and that's something to me, it was much more spiritual, I thought, because I think the things that meant the most to us, and don't let me talk for you on this, but the things that meant the most to us, when I look back, like those are what are even consistent now in our relationship. Because you were much more disciplined in your walk with Christ, but I always knew that I needed somebody who was stronger in that area for me to kind of climb up. And I felt like my business, that I was a little bit more ahead of you on entrepreneurship, and I think that you could help, that I could help you on that. True. You know what I mean? So it didn't feel like, it felt like we were already working together without even really pronouncing or really saying it.
So we probably talked on and on for about a year and a half, or maybe a year before we actually met.
I think it was about a year.
Or less than a year before we actually met. It was less than a year before we actually met.
Yeah. Because David was just turning two.
Okay.
And it was right before that. We don't get married till he turns 3.
Till he turned 3. Okay. So we had just, I just booked my ticket to come see him in Chicago. And I can't even remember what we argued about, but he was being very petty. I remember he was being petty and he didn't want to see me. But I'm like, you know what? You don't remember that? Even Verge is like, he sees that because you do be petty about stuff.
Maybe so.
And I can't remember what, it was probably something so little. But he didn't want to see me. But I already booked the ticket. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. I'm not going to go see him. I'm going to go see my sister instead. My sister's here, so I'm going to go see my sister. So that's what I did. I flew here and I came to see my sister. I hung out with her kids all day. And then she was like, why you just don't text him? I mean, you're here. I'm like, but he's such a jerk. Like,
it was something, yeah, I don't remember.
I did text you, and he still was putting up a fight. Like, he didn't want to come see me, even though I was here.
I don't quite remember it like that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, because the bottom line is, it is true. We got into something. Petty. And it was probably something small and petty. Like, I would be the first to tell you that. Now, I don't know if it was all on me.
It was. It was
but and what you will learn from this is, I mean, we're best friends now. But what you will see is that we are both petty. If it's true be told, she has her things and I have my things. You know what I'm saying? So I'm willing to jump on the sword for my things, okay? But you do have some things you're petty about too now. But I do remember copying an attitude with her, because it was something like, I don't know if it was the arrangement of, like, if I was gonna get her when she came here or something like that. Something happened and I was just like, you know what? I don't care either. And you know, and my wife, especially, because she's still like that. Like, I don't care. Like if my wife's not gonna do something, she's just not gonna do it though. I don't care how sweet, nice you want to say it. I don't care what you want to do. She's just not gonna do it. And so when you put two people together like that, you know, we clashed. But how the story unfolds is that she did send the text. And so I'm so glad and thankful that she did send that text. But at the time, yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, I'm so thankful for her. So I'm sitting on my couch. I get this text message, you know. I look at the text message, and obviously this is a significant time, because I remember exactly what the text said. And it texts something to the degree that it went, it's funny how God is, you know, God works in mysterious ways, you know, we're the closest we've ever been, but yet we're the furthest we've ever been apart. And I remember you saying that, and I was like,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you did. I 100% remember, and I remember because it was so significant for me and things like that. And so I literally, right after that, got a phone call. I get the phone call, and there's a job that's Northwest. I get in my car, hop in the car, whatever. I'm like, you know what, forget it. I'm not even gonna meet her. Like I don't feel like going through this, and plus I got a job, so I'd rather go make the money anyway. So I go ahead, and I'm over there to do a TV installation. And so as I'm en route, and I think about this text, and I'm like, you know, maybe I'll knock this job out real quick, you know, I'll call her back, whatever. So I get a phone call, and I'm thinking to myself, like, oh, this is probably her now, you know. I look at it, and it's actually my client. My client has canceled the job because he just needed to reschedule. He wasn't going to be able to make it in the time frame he told me about. And so once that happens, I'm thinking to myself, like, man, you know, I'm actually, you know, somewhat en route to where she's sending a text message, you know, to her, sending one back, and like, where are you at? And so I'm like 2 minutes away from where she's at. And I'm thinking to myself, like, oh my goodness, when I put the address into my GPS, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm this close. So I end up pulling up and things like that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm on my way to work. My truck is dirty. I mean, it's smelly. I mean, I'm talking about just looked like I lived in the truck. It was so nasty.
And I had to get on my flight in like, what, hour and a half or like 2 hours?
Like, I don't even think like,
it was
I
the
think
whole day he just refused to come see me. So
well, I did, you know, and so after that, I just remember, you know, I'm calling her, so I'm here, and she walks out, and I just remember she had on all black. She had on her boots with her purple shoelaces. And I knew right there, I was like, I'm gonna marry her. I was like, I knew exactly right there. I was like, yeah, that's my wife. And I remember looking at her and I was just like, wow, like, this is like, I mean, I had already done FaceTime with her. It wasn't like, you know, I didn't see her. I only saw pictures of her. She sent me a real good picture. It was none of that. Like, but she was so much more beautiful in person. And I saw that smile that just is captivating. And I remember she opened up my door, and I just remember being so embarrassed. I'm like, it's not gonna end well, you know? And so she opens up my door, and she says, wow, she's like, my fire chariot. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, my chariot is fire, you know? And I said, wow, you know, and I'm like, you know, she's like, okay, cool. And so I knew right there because it was just so embarrassing, and she comforted me. And I remember we drove over to the bowling alley.
We did.
And I went to bowl or whatever. You're like, kids.
It was so many kids. I'm
and
like,
you have
this
been around
is
kids
not a
all
good day.
day.
This is no.
Yeah, so I just thought, I thought to myself, I was like, okay, cool. And so we ended up going, did we go to a park or something like that?
Yeah, just talk.
Yeah, we went to a park, yeah. And then you had to leave and
then
stuff
I had
like
to
that.
leave.
But had that day not happened, I don't know that we get married.
Yeah, we wouldn't have. We wouldn't have.
We're
Because
too
I already
stubborn.
decided, like, I'm not talking to him. If he doesn't see me today, I'm not talking to him. I'm going with the funny guy.
Right. And we, and yeah, I mean, literally, like, we would have not talked because we're both stubborn like that. Like, when we're setting our ways,
True.
like that, like both of us. But thank
But it
God.
worked. I mean, after that day, it was just...
Yeah. But, no, I won't go too far, but we do end up breaking up, though.
Oh, do we?
So don't, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we
That's
did.
all, yeah. And so that will be to the next video. Because as sweet as this story is, and how beautiful it is, we do end up breaking up and for a few months.
For a few months.
This
yeah,
wasn't
I forgot
like,
about
yeah.
that. We sure did.
Yeah, so I mean,
But after the breakup.
Yeah. So there's much more to this crazy love story about how we met online, how we broke up, how we got back together, how we got married, how we had kids. Please stay tuned to Team Gravey.
Team Gravey, making things easy.